Well, isn't it a beautiful day today? I'm not going to talk about the obvious, or am I? So let me just ask you this. If you knew that you could only sense with your, five senses, and I won't even say limited, but let's just say your five senses as a human. But scientifically, we've learned we only see with the spectrum of which that we know. So we're only seeing about 95% with our senses. And I mean, I'm saying seeing, and referring to all of our senses actually, but just as an example, you are sitting there with your remote control and you are changing the channel, okay? That is sending a signal, if you will. You can call it artificial if you'd like. However, where did we get it from? We didn't just make it up, right? So you don't actually see that line dashing across the quote-unquote sky from your remote to the television or to the reader inside the television. No, you don't see it with your eyes, do you? What if I told you you could? And what if, now just come on this journey with me, please. Take a trip down or up the electromagnetic field, the highway, the superhighway, interdimensional travel, if you will, to imagine this, that you, the human, embarked on utilizing all of your senses. So if something could see, feel, touch, taste, or smell that lives in the same world that you do, I want to remind you that you have those senses too, okay? Now, don't take my word for it. I want you to do your own research, okay? However, if the field of energy is so malleable to give you those abilities to allow a light beam to dance across the sky without you seeing it, to change a channel on a television that you're controlling from your hand but is not part of your hand, well then, what else is happening? Okay? So, all right. So let's say you call somebody selfish, or their behavior, you say that their behavior is bad, okay? You judge their behavior. My friends, what if I told you that was only your behavior? Because remember, you can only see with what you know. Okay? You can only smell with what you're familiar. Taste. All these things. Okay? These experiences. All right. So, that begins the idea of disconnection, right? To put it outside of yourself. So if you see some behavior that you may not agree with, right? So you throw it outside yourself. Maybe you call somebody selfish. Or that's an act of violence. Is it? How do you know? Because you yourself have those feelings. Those feelings are coming from you. So when you begin to put it outside of yourself and say that they did this, well, you create the very disconnect that creates this idea of death, separation, right? Imagine the cells that make up your body, just for a minute, okay? The cells that make up your body. Are they alone? No. What happens if they are alone? They die. Let's take a look at a honeybee. Yes, there are undertaker bees inside a hive, and they will take any dead bee and remove it. But when a bee is dying and it's aware of it, it leaves on its own accord and says goodbye to the other bees and takes off. Same thing with a cell. Now, I'm not saying you can't have isolation. I'm saying you don't recognize isolation. You don't recognize separation. It's just death being experienced, right? So if you find yourself alone, all by yourself, not surrounding yourself with other active, living creatures, you are dying. And maybe, just maybe, the beginning of that part is saying, projecting outside of the self, saying that maybe, just maybe, that a person's behavior is so bad that you deny them. And the very negative experience that they're saying, you respond with your own negative experience. Now, do two wrongs make a right? Does it make you wrong? Does it make them wrong? I'm certainly not going to pretend that is a behavior that I perceive happening. If you call somebody based on your perception of their behavior a name and judge their behavior, their actions as something, I mean, you can probably go with the extreme case and say, oh, Shane, what about the child rapist? Go ahead. Pretend to that extreme if you want. If it makes you feel better, all I'm asking you to do is have some self-awareness. You don't need to create the separation. You don't need to. The more you become all things, the more alive you may feel. Being in touch with your emotions, right? So it's real easy. Somebody that is maybe taking something, let's say somebody's depressed and they're taking antidepressants, right? And then they're experiencing these weird behaviors and patterns and emotions, right? And then we justify it for them, right? Oh, well, they're taking da. Or this is what a side effect is of this, and this. This brain is automatically releasing chemicals. And your idea of mental disorder, my friends, it may be your own. It may be your own. If you are not looking into the eyes, into the soul of another human, if you're not experiencing the world through their eyes, how can you judge them? How can you pretend like that? In a world of make-believe, what are you making true? What are you making real? I, for one, am not going to judge somebody that wants to loot or riot as a reaction to death and separation. No, I'm not. Sorry. I'm just not going to do it. You know, if my interpretation of someone's death, you know, if I'm seeing somebody weeping, I don't even, I gotta watch how I talk. death is a moment of celebration, right? Doesn't mean you're not going to cry. Doesn't mean you're not going to feel sad. I personally feel sadness in regards to the others that are witnessing the death, that take it personal and then feel so sad. I am happy when death is experienced. I don't know why. I've always been that way since I was a little boy. And I notice other family members even not feeling comfortable the way that I was about death. So I just shut my mouth, let them feel how they feel. But as I noticed the reaction, I just at some point decided to allow their experience to be whatever it is. So just because I see death differently doesn't mean they need to see it the way that I see it. So I watch them grieve. So I feel sad with them. A gesture of empathy. Expanding my horizons of feelings. Because that is, to me, what is important. If I can get out of my own way long enough to walk a mile in another's shoes, instead of making fun of them or judging them for their experience, their thoughts, their emotions, their program. If I really think, if I really create separation, does that behavior, do I identify with that? No. Is it crazy to me? Yeah. It's really crazy. But would I call somebody crazy for crying over their family member dying? No, because I know it's, in their eyes, it's really happening. Death is really being experienced. But I see it different. I see it totally different. Anyway, all I'm asking is to see yourself in every individual. So you might say, well, what about the police officers? Listen, this is where it gets really wild. When two energy bodies are experiencing extreme emotions, if they are releasing fits of rage, they will project upon each other and reflect like mirrors and bounce back and forth, right? If you're going to, once again, project such a reality, react with empathy and compassion. Project upon them which you see in this fits of anger and rage. Project upon them your empathy, your compassion. Feel with them. If they're experiencing so much rage, imagine the turmoil within. How a police officer can kill somebody by sticking their knee in the neck and just not listening to them and hearing them curdle and lose consciousness and still not let up. Imagine the turmoil within that poor fucking police officer. Now his family has to deal with that shit. I don't believe in karma at all. Nobody deserves anything in which is experienced in these moments of rage. But if you can blame one, how come you can't blame the other? If you can feel empathy and compassion and sadness for one, how come you can't feel it for the other? That's all. It starts to make a lot more sense when you do that. It starts to make a lot more love start to bubble up within. Man. If you can't see how much adrenaline, how much chemical activity would be going on in the mind of a person with melanin in their skin right now, My friends, you're only creating separation, the very separation which is being projected right now. That's you, me. If you're not doing your best to influence love and compassion, which it all is, and it must come back to it. So if you do not agree with the rage that you are projecting and then reflecting and then witnessing, why would you then return that rage and judgment and anger and bitterness? Feel your feelings, process your emotions first, my friends, and then project the love, the empathy, the compassion. Project it out, radiate it. If you don't agree with rioting, what are you going to demonstrate? See the words? Play with the words. Demonstrate, protest. What are you going to demonstrate? How are you going to be the example? Somebody spoke of the devil the other day, and my 8-year-old daughter was like, what's the devil? What's that mean? It humbled me. Some people would judge that and say your daughter's sheltered. What a privilege, my friends. What an honor to have a sheltered child that doesn't know what the devil is. And then you might say, well, they're not ready for society. Do you see what you're projecting onto that innocent child, my friends? You see? You see what's happening now? You're picking up what I'm putting down? Take some deep breaths. You can call people motherfucker if you want, too. You can experience your emotions, my friends. But when you're breathing in, think about what you're about to let go. Expand with the breath. You can do it. You don't have to be afraid of dying either. What if you were the one? What if you were the one standing in the middle of a war, screaming at the top of your lungs, I love you, while you got shot up 16,000 times? Especially with cell phone cameras. Oh, yeah. Everybody's going to see that. Oh, imagine the love that they will feel in that moment when they witness you giving your life for freedom, for love. Some may say, well, that's just stupid. Do you really think you're going somewhere? When you die, you don't think you're coming right back? The bacteria has taught me we ain't really dying in the way that we think we are. It's all good. Anyway, I love you. I love you a lot.